Easy now.
Easy now.
Easy now.
Oh.
I was going to blend into that, you know?
Sorry, mate. I thought you were going to miss it.
Yeah, well, just before we turned the cameras on, Ped was like, Joe, you're leading this one. Did that look like much of a lead? No. I just straight out of the box, like, boom. Over to you, my friend. No. Anyway, yes.
Do you want to start again, or are we all right?
No, we'll carry on going. Yep. I'll carry on leading with my backseat passenger over there. Welcome back, guys. I hope everyone is well. Today, we're down at the Porsche Experience Centre in Silverstone. And we've got a very special guest with us, Mr. Tim Williams.
Well, yes, my name is Tim Williams, but I'm also known as Poundland Joe Achilles for reasons that we'll get into in a short amount of time. But yeah, thanks for having me. I watch you guys, both of you individually, and also I watch the podcast and listen to the podcast as well. And you're doing a great job. And yeah, keep going.
That could be the first guest we've had that's actually listened to an episode of the podcast.
Yeah, and complimented us.
From day one, yeah, 100%.
Brilliant. Well, Tim, yeah, it's a great pleasure having you on, and we're going to go into who you are and what you do for the people that don't know you and don't watch your stuff. But before we do that, I think we should talk about where we are, because we've had some awesome experiences. We've had some awesome venues of doing the podcast throughout this year. Most of them thanks to Michelin, our headline sponsor. And this is yet another one of those. And I have to say, it kind of takes the biscuit because we've actually all had a really good experience leading up to this point today. So
ridiculous. Really.
That's one way of summarising it, isn't it?
And also an above average backdrop.
Yep, above average backdrop. It's about 3 degrees outside. It's lovely and warm in here. We started the day. So for anyone that doesn't know about the Porsche Experience Centre in Silverstone, it's been here since, did they say 2011 or 2008? I think.
Yeah, 2008. Yeah.
So what's that? 15 odd years. I've been lucky enough to. This is my 4th time here, and every time I've absolutely loved it. And whenever anyone messages me on social media or wherever and asks me about driving experiences, there are 2 that really stand out. Palmer Sport is fantastic. It's a day long and it's, fairly hefty and expensive, but you get what you pay for. But the Porsche Experience Centre in Silverstone is just brilliant. Whether you're looking at buying a Porsche or not, it's just a brilliant couple of hours. You can do morning, afternoon, full day, and there's catering involved. And it's just a really awesome experience.
And you don't, like you said, you don't have to own a Porsche or be buying a Porsche. Anybody can come and experience what driving a Porsche is like.
Yeah, but there is a caveat to that. You don't have to be owning one or driving one, but when you leave here...
yeah, you go and buy one.
When you leave here, you want to buy one more than ever. So, yeah, huge thanks to everyone here for looking after us. It's just been brilliant, especially Jill. She's been an amazing host, and yeah, maybe we can move in here. They wouldn't notice, would they?
I don't know. I think they'd be fine with it, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. So let's talk through what we got up to out there. I don't know if you want to...
Well, I mean, I think that... So we knew that we were going to have a on-track experience. And the 3 cars we were told we were going to drive were 992 GT3.
Yep.
Good car.
Yep.
Cayman GT4 RS.
No,
Cayman GT4. Great car. And a Taycan Turbo.
And they're just Taycan. Didn't say any. There was no description to that. Yeah. Which are all brilliant. We're all very excited about anyway.
And then when we drove in, there's a big car park lot just next to it. And there's loads of all the cars parked there. And there's this beautiful kind of copper coloured GT3 RS. Ridiculous spec. And we're like, oh my God, look at that. That's amazing. And then we're having lunch, which was beautiful. And the GT3 RS came and parked up right underneath where we were having lunch. And we're like, oh, wow, look at that. And we're all drooling over it, taking pictures. And then a GT4 RS pulled up next to that. And then a Taycan Turbo pulled. They were our cars.
I imagine driving a GT4.
Literally.
Yeah. Well, that'd be good, wouldn't it? I mean, we're going to have to slum it in a GT3 and a GT4. Or
unreal. I mean, we all drove 2 of the cars. And I think the Taycan... Obviously, being petrol heads than most of us, it's like, oh yes, GT car. But actually, if you ever want to experience what something like a Taycan can do, all 2.5 tons of it, and just see the levels that it can get to, I was really, really impressed with just how much stability the car had, how much grip it had, and how much pace it had. And just to put things into perspective, there's two little handling circuits here. Faster one around the back. There's a long straight. And in the Taycan Turbo, so not even the Turbo S, Sport Turismo, the top speed I saw was about 108 miles an hour before you had to get on the brakes. In the GT3 RS, which is essentially a racing car, I wasn't seeing much more than about 102, 103. So it just shows you that one of the fastest cars on the planet. EVs, we all know they're fast, but it just puts into perspective just how fast they are and how quickly they launch off the line.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had the Taycan experience. I didn't.
You just went full RS. You got the short straw. Unlucky.
So, Tim, what did you think to the Taycan?
I recently drove a GTS Cross Turismo.
Nice.
For an hour or so. So I'm kind of used to the power. But again, this was on a public road. Cars coming in direction. But on here, it really came alive, because I even said to the person that was with me, I said, this is something you can't do on the road. You can't take corners like this. And they've got the wet track as well. And it's another level. I think I did it the wrong way around though. So I went out in the 4RS first and I finished it with an EV essentially, but nonetheless, epic. I didn't want to come back in, but obviously we were down to 16 miles off battery. So really, it was either that or call Joe to come and push us back. So we decided to come back in. But yeah, great experience.
And how was the? Is that the first time you've driven the 4RS?
Yes, so I've driven a 4. A mate of mine had a 4 that I reviewed. Nearly a year and a half ago. But the 4RS, I just don't get how it's legal, because the sound of that thing. Doesn't make sense. And I was saying, like, Bedford, you sneeze and you get black flagged, so like, you couldn't take it on track. But anywhere else, you just want to be second gear all the time, just rev it all the way out.
Well, I think you'd be surprised actually, because to my understanding, that is totally legal everywhere in the UK. And the reason that it's confusing, and I had to reset my head after I've driven it, is all the sound you're getting is in the cab. Well, most of that sound that you're hearing is organic sound, but it's in the cabin, because you've got the induction behind you, you've got the motor just over your so everything you hear, it's actually louder on the inside than it is on the outside. And I think I love the 4RS, but whenever anyone asks me what's your dream car to have, it's always the GT3 over the 4RS, because I think if you live with that car, you would either go deaf within a few weeks.
It's very
and it would get a bit. I think I only had one for the one day, the German press car, which apparently was that one. But after that day, I didn't want to give it back, but when I did, just getting back in a normal car was like, oh my goodness, my ears. You know, like it's a real experience, but it's properly raw. Whereas the 3RS is kind of more like the GT.
It's not that noisy inside.
It's not that noisy, but you do hear other noises like diff and mechanical things and pickup, and it's just insane.
So, I mean,
cheers. Thanks.
yeah, sorry, Tim. Yeah. For me, so 4RS it's very noisy, and I think even on a driving tour, I think you'd probably find you get a headache after a couple of hours. Yeah, because it is, and it's on the way up, it's loud, but it's the noise it makes on the downshifts on the way down. It's just brutal.
Yep.
I think for me, it's a car that you can really tap into, because it's. I feel it's within my talent envelope, as it were, and I was very lucky. And one of the things about coming here is when you go out, they will tailor the experience to you and what you want. So if you're not a particularly confident driver, you've not driven a performance car before, you've not done any track work before, that's fine. You can go out there and they'll teach you how to, understand the systems on the car and get quicker. If you have done some track work and you want to improve your lines or your braking, we did some work on trail braking in the 3RS, for example, and just to get the front end a bit pitching in a bit more, and they'll talk to you as technically as you want. But then in the 4RS, they've got a low grip traction circuit. And I spent basically 25 minutes learning how to drift, and just sideways to sideways, donuts in a circle. It's just wicked. And we often talk about people like Chris Harris and Tiffany Dell and the guys that can really slide a car around, and you only get to that level of skill by practicing in a safe environment. And I've just had 20 minutes of that in a GT4RS, which is pretty cool. But the 3RS, those buttons, I said, I want to feel you hear a lot about so for the guys who don't know, that as well as the drive mode button on the steering wheel, there's 3 other buttons that can control the the suspension, front and rear, the diff, front and rear, rear, what am I, front diff? And the ESC.
Yes.
How much difference does that make to the feel of the car?
So much difference. Playing with the compression, the rebound, the diff lock, and like you said, and yeah, I've watched pretty much all the GT3 RS content out there, and just looking at that, it gives you a headache just watching it. And to be fair, I think if you did own one, you'd need a week with it of solid time, a week on track, just playing around on a place like Bedford. Just playing around with it to dial it in, because there's just so much, and it's awesome. But yeah, I think that's a good thing. It's a blessing in one way, but it's also a bit of a headache in another. Whereas you get in the 4RS, and it's like, do you want traction on, traction off? Let's go.
Traction on, traction off, noisy exhaust. That's it. That's all you can choose.
And just go for it. But yeah, honestly, I've praised this place for years. I think I first came here in 2011, 2012ish. And I always recommend it. And I'm not just saying that because we're down here in Michelin, a partner. I think we can all agree that it's just, it's a brilliant, brilliant location. Let's talk about you, Tim. Let's introduce yourself. For those, as if the audience don't know who you are, they haven't watched your content. Who are you and what do you do? Do you have a job? Are you a full-time YouTuber? Or do you just spend your life sitting here in the Porsche Experience Centre?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I am a regional manager for Porsche GB. No, I'm joking. So I am, part-time YouTuber, full-time teacher, essentially. I manage behaviour side of things in our current school, and I do that full-time, and then part-time, obviously, do the YouTube. And I've always classed myself as the pound stretcher Joe Achilles, because I tend to do, or I try to do, similar content to Joe in terms of car reviews. I haven't done anything bike yet because I will never get on a bike. But yeah, car reviews.
Just give me 5 now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Forward, but you.
That's a fist bump. That's not.
Give me 5.
Granddad, that's a fist bump. That's not 5.
Granddad.
That was 5 because it was 5 fingers.
Give me a pump. Give me a pump.
There you go. Don't worry about him.
Yeah.
His mum always saying that you look younger than him.
Yeah, I know. See, I like your mum.
Oh no, that's come back and bit me quite hard.
You can't go there.
I don't want to ride a bike because I don't want to give my eyes to someone I've never met before.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's an interesting approach. Yeah. You just neither you got any talent. Anyway,
so carry on, mate. Sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, that is.
Should we call you Mr. Williams then?
So essentially, that is what I'm used to being called, but it is very weird sometimes because somebody would say Mr. Williams, and I turn around thinking it's parents' evening, and my dad's behind me, give me a clap round the head because my reports as usual. Timothy is a great student, but he loves to chat. So, and I look at him like, Dad, I'm sorry, it's too late. The clap comes, boom. So it's Mr. Williams at work, and then Tim Williams on YouTube, or just Tim, or as Joe likes to leave me voice notes, Tim. He always starts off with Tim. So yeah, Tim. That's it. Yeah.
I think why. I mean, I've known you for many years now, and I admire what you do, and I respect what you do, because you're very much like what. I mean, we're all. Ped and I have been doing YouTube now for what, 8
years in January for me.
Yeah, so we've kind of been there, done the struggle, still struggling. I mean, it fluctuates. It's never ever easy. It gets harder and harder in many ways because the pressure is on you, especially when you decide, like me, to drop the main job. But I think the whole shuffling, what a lot of people don't realize with YouTube is, although it's something that if you want to make it work, you've really got to invest a lot of time and effort into, you can't just drop everything else. And when we actually had Timmy Schmee on the podcast, he summed it up very well in the sense that anyone that, if you haven't listened to that episode, if you're thinking about doing YouTube, if you're thinking about doing it for fame or for money, forget it, because it's not going to work in a million years. If you're thinking about doing it as a hobby that might become a bit more than a hobby, and maybe one day will become something, then do it and put the effort in. But I can speak for myself. It was always a hobby for me. I put so much time and effort and money into it when I had a job. And it slowly became a living, which was an unexpected reward for me. And I think the same sort of story with you.
Yeah, and it's for me as well. In the early days, it's about experiences. I thought if it got me to drive some cool cars that I wouldn't be able to afford to buy.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I came to the experience centre in my first year as a YouTuber. I think it was the year the 718 came out, and I'd contacted Porsche Portsmouth, which is my local Porsche centre, and they forwarded my name to Porsche GB. And the next thing, I get an email from Porsche GB saying, "Look, we can't give you a 718 at Porsche Portsmouth, but would you like to come to the experience centre?"
Brilliant.
And I came here and we did the on-track experience that we've just done, and then we got to drive 3 cars out on the road just for an hour loop. But there were 3 videos made, and that for me was a really good example. I would not have had that experience without YouTube.
Yeah.
So for the first few years, it's often about the experiences, events you get invited to, or cars you get to drive, or people you get to meet, and over time you still get those things, but then the monetization starts to kick in and you get the financial rewards as well.
Yep.
But you don't get any of that without a lot of hard work, even in the early days.
And I think someone like you, you're also a family man. So you've got kids, you've got your other half, you've got your actual job, and then you're shuffling a YouTube channel, and trying to make that all work is really, really difficult. But your channel, what are you up to sub-wise now?
Currently on 18,000 subs, which is penny change in comparison, but I'm grateful because it shows me I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
The fact that it is growing, maybe not at the rate that I want, but that's out of my control. As far as I keep doing the right things, then the numbers come. But at the end of the day, it's more about the enjoyment that I get from it, as opposed to me just trying to chase the next 20, 40, 50,000 subscribers.
And 18K, that's no mean achievement, mate. Don't well, only 18,000. That's still 18,000 people. I remember I was on about 21,000 people, and I was at a mate of mine, and he's a season ticket holder at Wasps, the rugby club. And we went to watch Wasps, and we were watching, and he said, "You do realise that you've got more subscribers than people sat in this stadium?" And I'm like, wow.
I do that sometimes. So sometimes I look at a video and sometimes it does an absolute belly flop of, say, 300 views in a day, and I'm just like, oh my God, only 300 views. I did like 3-4 hours filming this and then editing. But then I think sometimes you'd stand in an assembly, and you've got 300 kids there, and you're like, wait, this many people actually took their time to watch my little video. So yeah, it's like I said, you've got to be grateful with the small and the big.
Yeah. And especially when you look at, we all get carried away with numbers these days. I think it's because we're so used to, and this is something we're hopefully going to get onto later, short form content and all this, like we talk in millions now with lots of things, don't we? Millions this, millions that. And so you kind of lose track on numbers. But actually when you look, or you like, if you look into some TV shows, especially on smaller channels like Discovery shows, and you look at some of the viewing numbers, and then you realize actually my 20-odd thousand subs and however many views I do a month, that's comparable to a TV show. And then you look at how much money and effort and production goes into that TV show, and you're doing it as a dad who has a job. No, but honestly, when you stop and break it down like that, you're like, actually, you know what? This is really impressive. And when a video absolutely bottoms, and there's nothing that's more. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure it's the same. When the Studio app, I love it and I hate it. Yeah. And so if you're not on YouTube, you have a Studio app, and it basically tells you all the analytics of everything that's going on with your videos, the latest one and everything else in the backlog. And the second you post a video, I can't help, literally straight away, first minute, first 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and you're like that. And I know Lou can tell straight away whether the video is going well or not, depending on my mood, And you get to half an hour, and there's not much you can do at that point. You can change the thumbnail, or maybe a title, make it a little bit catchier, but it's either succeeds or it doesn't. And I think it's part of it's a buzz for a number of reasons. Of course, the monetization of it. If it does really well, then you should earn a little bit of money from it. But it's the effort, the time and the effort. And sometimes you can put, again, it's a point that I've written down, but I think it's something we can talk about now. And I'm sure you've heard lots of YouTubers saying this, but it's the more polished videos, the ones that you spend more time on, the ones that you sometimes think are definitely going to do well, and they don't. And that's really depressing.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah, and it's normally, what about you? that's normally the stuff I really like doing, are the videos that don't do great. So
Yes.
I raced in an enduro car last week at Alton Park, and I was there for a weekend, and it was amazing, and I loved every minute of it.
Was that an off-road? It was off-road as well, some of it,
No,
wasn't it?
well, it
Oh.
was off-road
Oh.
in my car.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
The grass looked interesting, so I decided to take an excursion onto it, and had a couple of offs. But the video's done like 5,000 views. It's not done anything, and motorsport stuff just doesn't do great.
Or track day. Well, you do a lot of
so,
track day stuff.
And it's because you think when you start, you think, you might get the opportunity to drive a great car on track. Or I know when I first did my motor racing, I went, this is going to be amazing. Everyone's going to want to know, because I did a series called How to Become a Racing Driver, and then went through all of my driver tuition and testing and qualifying, and
Are you qualified? Have you got any driving qualifications?
might have.
Okay.
Never
Yeah, it's
mentioned it.
Just
It's never mentioned.
Did you see my sticker on the car?
No.
No, I got my Master's distinction sticker on the windscreen.
Yeah.
Is that in the inside?
no, it's on the outside so people can see.
Oh, it's on. I was going to say, if it was on the inside, I didn't know how you fitted it, because obviously the 911 and the Cayman size does it fit in a 911 as well? Or
Have you prepped him or what?
He's got the. He's
Hey,
got.
at least he's watching me content.
He's got the 4-pot, so there's a lot more room in there for stickers. It's just
Oi, oi, oi.
Sorry, Pete. Yeah.
Don't have to part with this,
I know. But yeah, so, and how's it all going, Tim? Because I know that you've just got an official invite from BMW
yes.
for an event that's in next week, a couple of weeks' time, whatever, which must feel pretty good.
It's I'm not saying it's a long time coming, because that sounds very arrogant, but yeah, it's been a long haul, a long struggle to get there, but nothing comes easy to some people, and I'm one of those people. I'm not trying to look at people and say, hey, feel sorry for me, but
Yeah.
I know that it's not easy to get to where you guys are now. It takes a lot of work, and I've just got to keep pushing. But BMW
because you
invited me.
a lot of your content, especially in the early years, you know, I wouldn't. Yeah, you're a BMW guy. People used to label me as a BMW guy. You love all brands and you're open-minded, but you've owned a lot of BMs over the last few years. So it is great that you're being invited to that and you're being recognised. And yeah, I mean,
And I'll see you there.
Yes, you're there on day one, right?
Yeah, I'm on day one, you're on day two. Yeah.
yeah. I won't. No, I'll be in Australia,
Australia, doing your daily vlogs.
thinking about you guys in the rain.
If it rains, I'm going to be so bad.
You know, yeah. In reality, I've just had a weather update from my mate who lives in Melbourne, and I'm going for the MotoGP initially, and it's meant to be torrential rain and about 9 degrees. So so you guys might have the last laugh on that. But yeah, looking forward to it all the same. So okay, what have we got next in here? Let's talk a little bit about. I've asked Tim to come to us with a few of his ideas and topics that he wants to talk about, and I think one of them is brands' approaches to social media, and the good and the bad, and how it all works. Now, what you've got to understand, at least from what I understand in the brands that I work with and know, the marketing teams tend to be quite disconnected to the press teams a lot of the time. And then the marketing teams have external marketing agencies that they sign off and employ to produce this content. Sometimes that's really good, but sometimes it's really not. And it's really obvious, I think, for true petrol heads. You see some of the stuff out there, and I'm not going to shame any of the brands, but I occasionally do point them out on my Instagram.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, occasionally.
Have you seen any of those?
And that's only because some of those brands I absolutely love, and it's really sad and upsetting to see these external people that are getting paid an absolute fortune to literally destroy the brand. And I just don't get the approach. It's almost like they have no concept of even what a car is. Some of these people, they've got, let alone the fact that, like us three, we're passionate about cars and the brands.
Do you think it's because some of these marketing teams are trying to sell a lifestyle or an image, not a car?
Yes.
And because we're car people, we look at the car as a piece of engineering, as a thing to drive, as a thing to enjoy. and then the lifestyle, the secondary to that. You look at some of these marketing campaigns, you think you're selling a lifestyle,
Yep.
and you don't really care what the car is.
No.
I mean, Tesla, your favourite brand ever.
Yep.
I mean,
Patrick.
Yeah, yes. But they sell lifestyle and technology. The car is just a vehicle, excuse the pun, to deliver that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you're so passionate about a brand,
Yeah.
and the one that you're very passionate about, both of you, which I won't name, obviously,
Yeah.
and you see it being diluted like that, it's not good.
It's not, but you're 100% right about that, and I think that's the way a lot of things are going with testing, and there's less and less press events. There's less and less manufacturers that actually want your honest opinion. So journalism these days, because they can invite along a load of influencers, lifestyle people that would turn up. Don't know what that was all about, but anyway, they'll turn up and they'll literally just be like, "Oh, it's amazing! Like it's got a touch screen. It's incredible. It's this, it's that," and point out all the positives, which is great, but it's not the reality, and you're not getting you're not learning anything from that. And I think we're going to go through a bit of a phase of that, where I know one or two brands that are focusing really heavy on that approach, and that's great, because initially they're just going to get loads of positive stuff and loads of views because some of these people have got millions of followers. But the relevance of that, I don't care what anyone says, the relevance of that, if someone's going out and spending 100 grand in a car, they don't want an opinion they want to know really what it's like to live with one of your videos, what it's like to tow a caravan or whatever a petrol ped would normally do, you know. But no, real life situations.
Put a bike in the back.
Put a
Put
bike
dogs
in the back.
yeah.
Exactly. No, but you know, and they want an opinion because they know if they're buying a Taycan, they know that the current Taycan, its probably weakest point is the fact that the range isn't really, you know, it's not quite there. If it was 350, 400 miles, it'd be the best thing out there, you know. So there's always, but you know that already, you know the negatives. So we might talk about those in the video, and as a consumer, you'll go, "Oh, well, I knew about that." And then you're like, actually, the rest of it is amazing. It smells like a Porsche. It handles like a Porsche. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, that's all I needed. That you know, confirmation. And it's just going to be interesting. I think the next few years are going to be very interesting to see how that goes and which manufacturers focus fully on these people, these yes people, or which people actually continue to use, you know, traditional journalists or honest YouTubers.
So my question to Tim, actually, because I remember when it's still actually, I not remember when, but it's still the case now. When you get a press car and you're a smaller channel, you have this feeling to start with. You think, I need to just say nice things. And what if there's something I don't like? And it's very easy to only say nice things in that, so you don't upset the brand until you get another car. And I'm sure we've said this before. What you very rapidly realise is that actually, if you talk to the guys at the press teams, they're not interested in people that do that. And it's a very difficult thing to get across to your audience that you're not, you know, that you're not just blowing sunshine up that car or up the brand's, you know, what's it. But it's hard to do when you're small, right?
Definitely. So, like you said, when you get a car like recently, am I allowed to say what brands here?
Yeah. When you say what you
recently
like.
get a Golf GTI, for example.
Which you rocked up in today.
Yeah. You
Part of the Volkswagen group, mate.
Yeah.
Still same umbrella. Yeah.
True. And yeah, like you said, you don't really want to talk about its negatives, but nowadays, some of the cars, it's a common negative. So, for example, people touch on the infotainment.
Never heard that about a Golf 8. Never. No.
So if I mention it, it's not news to people, and VW themselves might be like, okay, if it's one person saying it, he could be talking, but if there's 100 people saying it, he might have a valid point. And what I also do, I leave it quite late in the video. By then, people aren't watching, so the negatives. I tend to, like I said, I do get the negatives across, but it's always about the balance. And 9 times out of 10, if you're reviewing a car and you just say it's totally perfect, there's not one thing, you kind of lose some credibility. I think as people then say, okay, you know what, he's only saying that because they give him cars, or like they used to do to Joe, he's paid 55.5 grand each BMW
Yep.
video that he does. That's why.
It was actually 60, to be fair.
Sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah.
be honest, but you've forgot to add the bonuses and stuff. So
Yeah.
it is difficult, but like I said, I feel like honesty is always the best policy.
So what were the negative things about that GT4 RS, mate?
So the GT4 RS, the negative thing about it was on Cup 2 tyres and not Cup 2R tyres. If they put it on Cup 2R tyres, I promise you, it would have been.
Yeah, but then you might not have had as much fun skidding around on Cup 2Rs because there'd have been too much grip.
Yeah.
I think the negative with that is your ears are still bleeding. I can see, I can see that.
My biggest negative, I had to give the keys back when I finished driving it.
Yes,
That was a big negative.
that was hard to do. And going back to the press thing, again, a lot of people might not understand this, and I can understand why. So when we have press cars, we're not being paid to review them. We get the car usually for a week with a full tank of fuel, so you get 3/4 of that because you have to give it back with at least a quarter of a tank. And then it's up to you to say what you want to say. But as you two were just talking about there, it's really difficult when you're starting out, and even these days, because there's a lot of good YouTubers out there. There's a lot of, trust me, there's 1,000 times more people out there that want, let's say, a Porsche than us three. So you're still battling against others, and it is a fine line. You want to be honest, but you don't want to be rude. You don't want to upset anyone. But it's a fine balancing act. And when you are, I remember when I had a handful of subs, maybe like 5,000 subs or whatever, and I started borrowing cars off dealerships. You had to, you felt more pressure, didn't you? Yeah, but then as you get bigger and as you grow, you can be a bit more honest. But that's the press car side of thing. Then there's the marketing side of thing, which is ads. But unfortunately, on YouTube, there are so many YouTubers out there, big and small, that if they get sponsored stuff, they don't advertise that it's an ad. They don't put what's the thing that comes up on the
Paid advertisement.
Yeah.
paid advertise or whatever, paid promotion. And so that all becomes very blurry because they are being paid to do whatever they're doing, whether that's on Instagram or whether it's on YouTube. And so that is all going to be naturally positive because when you're doing paid stuff, but don't get me wrong, like have you done any paid stuff before? Yeah, we all, and that's kind of how you have to survive today because the ad revenue on YouTube over the last couple of years has tumbled badly. And so therefore you need to do it. And then it's all about trying to fit in something that's relevant to you and your audience. That's not like me advertising tampons, for instance, because I haven't really used them lately.
I had some for my ears earlier. That was about it.
Oh, some Porsche branded tampons for the
Moving on, guys.
GT4.
Moving on. Oh my god. But no, I mean, brand deals though, they are, at the end of the day, the smaller channels, you can get, I don't know, equivalent to half a month's ad revenue in one brand deal.
Yep.
If it's that kind of, and I know the more followers you have, the more views you're going to get, the more money you're going to get for an integration. But they're worth doing. But I'm sure, like most YouTubers, I turn down 90% of the brands that ask me to do stuff because it just doesn't fit with my. I don't want to advertise HelloFresh.
No.
I go to the supermarket and buy my own food.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have said that because I'm going to upset HelloFresh now. But that kind of thing, it's like it's not relevant.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's true. It's just that it's a fine balancing act. And once again, going back to you, Tim, and where you are, it's again trying to juggle all of that, trying to make it all work, trying to make dates line up. It's just there's so much logistics that goes into it as a full-time YouTuber, let alone someone who does it at part-time and manages a family and kids.
The bit I used to that used to annoy me the most about trying to juggle a job in YouTube is when you get a really amazing invite to something.
Oh Lord!
Right, and you can't do it because you've got a commitment. I mean, it's still the same now. It's like every time an email comes in inviting you to something, there's this kind of 5 to 10 second sick feeling in my tummy while I open up my calendar to have a look and see what I've got on that. I've literally had one today. Just came in before we started recording from Skoda, a foreign press trip. Skoda, and I can make it. I'm clear on those 2 days, but you never know, and it's always the really cool ones.
Yeah,
always the really cool ones.
I had one last year which no, was it last year?
You
or
get really cool ones and go on all of them, surely.
Well, no, there was one that it wasn't last year. I think it was the year before. Oh, Andy, if you're watching, listening, and Ruth, I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. But anyway, one of my absolute best friends, Andy, he got married to Ruth last year or the year before. And obviously the dates have been in the diary for ages, and it was the most amazing day. So I would never have swapped it for anything. But yeah, but I got an invite from Audi to go out to is it SEMA? What's the one where it's a week long?
Oh, in the States?
Yeah, around
It might be SEMA. It's a technology show.
I can't. Oh man, that's just falling flat. It's like one of those. It's like me telling a joke. It just goes. And where's the punchline? But anyway, I think it was SEMA. Or so. It was a week long Monterey car week. Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like 5 or 6 days out in Monterey doing the most ridiculous things. Obviously, business class flights, amazing combination. But to make things worse, normally, or at least years ago, you'd get like, save the date for this or something. So it'd be like, come out to Monterey with Audi. Can you do these dates? So then you can go, oh no, I can't make it. Or yes, I can. But no, this one was, this is the schedule. And so you read it all, you're like, oh. And then you look at the dates, you're like,
At which point you go, I know, but Ped might be able to go. Ped, can you make these dates?
Yeah.
That email must have gone into my junk mail.
Must have done. Yeah. Sorry about that, mate. I think we did that with Dakar. Yeah.
Actually, no, Dakar. To be fair, you mentioned Dakar, and then I managed to get on Dakar. But yeah, that is the worst.
It is.
Is the worst. I think I got invited to drive a NASCAR at Rockingham. I was tiny, and I couldn't do it because I had a work commitment.
Yeah.
And Tim did it. Shmee did it actually.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, yeah. I think the two I've watched YouTubers do that were, I think, Sam and JWW drove a Formula One car, and that for me was like, and they drove a Formula E car as well. Actually, I think
we drove a Formula One car today, GT3 RS.
Well, pretty much. I mean,
it had DRS and everything.
I know. But that's
a DRS button on the steering wheel, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was lots of buttons on the steering, but they all did stuff, and they actually, you could feel what they were doing. Anyway, we're going back. Yeah. We're going to just end up talking about that. Remember that day?
Misha right now.
Yeah, guys. Remember that day when we drove the GT3 RS at Porsche? Yeah. It's just like, wow. But yeah, that going back to that for me is and it doesn't go away when you become full time, because you'll still have other press trips or it like you. That was a family commitment that you just can't get out of. But
yeah.
It does open it up, and I left full time employment and went freelance in my old job, so that I could, instead of fitting YouTube around my job, I started to then fit my job around YouTube, and then slowly you bleed off the job and you just end up doing YouTube. But it is a really difficult balancing act.
Yeah, and with the education system anyway, you can't just become a part-time member of staff just like that unless there's a valid reason, health or something. It's quite difficult to say I want to go down 5 days to 3 days or to 4 days. So it is a balancing act. And like you said, when I get an email, the first thing, I don't read it anymore. Then I just go straight to the date. I was like, where are the numbers? Where's the months? October. Then I go on the school website. I then check the term dates, and I'm like, oh, it's school day. Then I think, oh, can I make it? And I was like, nope. Have I got a dentist appointment that day? Nope. So it's all quite tricky. So yeah, it is. It does become an inconvenience. But at the end of the day, you've got to do what pays the bills. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to throw my job away and not have
100%
pay my mortgage. So
yeah,
it's got to be done.
But yeah, no, and then the other, I think you've said this as well. The other thing is, try not to watch too many other people, YouTubers, because you look at the trips they're going on, and it's just like,
yeah, it is.
Especially when they get invited to, like, I don't know, on a foreign trip with Porsche to drive something really cool.
This is it,
and you're doing your proper job.
Yeah.
What, like Spain or somewhere?
Yeah, on a circuit with a really nice Porsche, and I'm doing my old job.
That would be frustrating, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
I'm teaching voiceover IP, and you're banging a game around a track.
That was we didn't talk about it in our last podcast, but actually,
yeah, we did.
Did we? Oh, yes, of course we did. Yeah, I won't go into it again then, but that was a great trip.
Tune into the previous podcast and
listen to me talk about it again. But that was great. Yeah, but it's true, and the press trips are so varied as well. Some of them are like, in the UK, this time of year, probably predicted rain, and you go up to place somewhere 3 or 4 hours away, sometimes you drive there, you have the car for a few hours and got to give it back, and you might sit in traffic, and it's, you know, or you go to somewhere like Spain for 2 days and the weather's lovely and you've got a circuit to play. There's massive variations, isn't there? You know, just depending on.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because for me, press trips, there's like 3 things you could get out of them. The first one you want is views and money.
Yep.
But that's often not the case.
No.
They're not normally videos that do brilliantly well unless you're lucky. The other one is just the experience itself and meeting, having the time to spend time with the press team. And really get to be known by the press team, because that normally then means you can get access to other cars and maybe other experiences. And then the final thing is, it's like a relevance thing to your audience. If you're seen by your audience being invited to these kind of things, and you know, that for me is a real credibility enhancer for your channel. Yeah. So they are really important, but it's not like most people. It's not the financial benefit importance. It's all the other things.
It's not at all. And actually, I was talking to another journo on this recent trip, and just using that as an example. And this is actually a really good example. So that trip, I managed to film 2 videos. Who knows how well they're going to do? Because, you know, it's around the new Cayenne E hybrid, but it's a specific model, so it might fly, it might not. We don't know. We can't predict. But you know, the parking, so I think I paid 95 quid for parking long term Heathrow, and probably used 50 or 60 quid's worth of fuel to get there and back. So before I've even left for the trip, basically I'm 150 quid out of pocket. Then I've got my 3 days, which, don't get me wrong, they were awesome 3 days out there, but that's 3 days of time out there, and then maybe another day and a half for me editing. So that's verging on a week of my time and 150 quid out of pocket. I don't think I will. The videos, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to cover those expenses, in the sense that, you know, I might make 300 quid, 400 quid out of the videos if I'm lucky. But it's for so many different reasons, isn't it? Like you just said, the experience, the camaraderie, the importance and the relevance to your audience, to show them that you're there with Porsche. And it's an interesting subject, and again, it just relates back to the whole dream of, I bet that makes loads of money, or unfortunately it's just not the way anymore on YouTube.
The other thing I find is it's really interesting watching other content creators at those events and watch how they work and how they operate, and you kind of learn so much from that as well. Whether that's, you know, people who are a smaller channel than you, and you think, oh, that's a really cool thing they're doing, or the really big guys, you go on a press trip with Henry Catchpole or something, and you know, he's an absolute legend, and I just watch and kind of just see what he does at an event like that, because you can learn lots of things. But yeah, I just got distracted, by the way, because there's the Spider RS up there that I drove at Goodwood on the.
Oh yeah, how far did you drive that car?
I drove it. Look,
you drove it up the hill quite a few times.
I drove it up the hill quite a few times in the dark with a drone flying over my head at about 10 miles an hour. I did redline it once.
You did. So I guess the next subject that I've written down on my phone, sorry about this, is a little bit amateur, is talking about what does well. Let's use Instagram as a platform. What does well today? Because as far as I'm concerned, when I started Instagram, it was all about displaying your art or your photography skills. Yeah. And I love that about Instagram, and I still do to this day. It's really, you know, look at people's cool pictures. You know, someone like Patrick takes some amazing pictures, and that's what I use it for. Obviously nowadays it's changed so much, but actually for me, I think because I'm quite stubborn and I still post a lot of pictures, my pictures still do relatively well in comparison to reels. But speaking to Matt Watson, I think it was earlier this year, he was just saying to me that because he's focused so hard on reels, if he now posts a picture, it doesn't do well at all. So he's just reel. And obviously reels produce big numbers and get eyes on them. You know, they can explode. But yeah, what's your take on Instagram, and what does well for you?
My issue with Instagram is I feel sometimes your original audience only want to see a certain brand. And when I start bringing on, I don't know, a Porsche or a Volkswagen, if they're primarily BMW fans, they're not going to want to appreciate. And if my instant followers don't engage with it, it doesn't get the reach. With the reels, I've noticed you can slap a reel up off a launch control. Even your BMW boys are going to click on me launching a Porsche.
Yep.
Because it's still a car, it's still something performance focused. So that's the issue, but it then has the knock-on effect with, I'm now stuck in this reel trend. I just have to keep doing reels, even though I've took a nice picture, I'm not going to put it up because the brand's going to look at it and think, oh, we're not giving him a car again. Look how bad that picture done. So I then get forced to be stuck in a reel system, and it's the short form content. And as much as I can appreciate watching something, I enjoy sitting down sometimes in the evening and watching 20-minute or 25-minute YouTube video, because it teaches me more than I can get taught over 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. But I think attention spans are getting shorter and shorter.
Yep.
Reels just seem to be the way forward at the minute.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I guess you smash out a lot of reels, don't you?
Well, no, do you know, that's partly after we were with Tim Schmee, and he was talking about he does a video a day and a reel and a TikTok, you know, and a Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't do all of that, but I think we all know that reels are great for growing an audience, as are shorts. They don't earn you any money. And my Instagram following isn't great. I think 18,000.
Yeah, but that's
something.
Yeah, but you were only a year ago. You're 10 or something.
But I've grown. Probably eight in a year.
So you've basically doubled in a year.
The one that's gone, and I think you do the same, is Facebook. Reformatting my YouTube videos to put out on Facebook. I've grown from, I think I've done from 5,000 followers to over 22,000 followers in 4 months.
Wow.
And that's now a monetized thing, and you know that we work with the same guy to do that. But you know, and that my challenge with it is there is an art form to short format content. I think you have to have an eye for it and a way of approaching it, and I just don't feel like I've got that. I don't from an editing point of view, from a content creation point of view. So my reels are normally either little tiny segments, like 1 minute long segments from a video, maybe you know, I did a bit when we were with Misha on the ring, or a drive up the hill at Goodwood, or wherever it might be. Yeah. What you're really good at, Joe, is that you're,
amongst other things, obviously
lots of things. So the way I see, I think you're one of the best at it, actually. So you've got your YouTube videos and you've got Instagram. Okay, and I watch both of those, but for different reasons.
Right.
So what you're brilliant at on Instagram is your stories take people along with you almost in real time to all the experiences that you are lucky enough to be invited to, whether that's press trips or whatever it might be. And you know, most mornings I wake up and I'll go, I wonder what Joe's up to, and I'll watch your stories.
Yep.
And then the video on YouTube might not come out for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then that's a different style of content, and I'll watch that, and it's delivered in a different way and delivers a different thing.
Yeah.
But what that, for me, in terms of brand value, as in value for the brands, is that you will be invited on stuff for your Instagram ability in terms of stories and so on.
Yeah.
So I don't know, a good example might be you when you go to the MotoGP, you never make a YouTube video about going to MotoGP.
No.
But you make really interesting stories and take do you know what I mean?
Take
the audience.
Yeah. And that bit is, for me, that's why I'm trying to concentrate on Instagram, because it's the missing link in what I make, I think.
Yep.
My gut feel is that my audience, if I look at the demographic of my audience, the age demographic, my audience that watch me on YouTube isn't typically the demographic you'd find on Instagram.
Right.
And sure as hell ain't the demographic you find on TikTok.
Yes. Yeah.
They're just not there.
No.
And I know you could say, well, you could generate an audience on TikTok and then bring them over to YouTube, but I don't think it works quite that easily. I've tried, and it's well, maybe I should just keep trying. But I think that our problem is, in an ideal world, you should be creating unique content for YouTube, unique content for Instagram, unique content for Facebook. People might write Facebook off, but you can monetize Facebook and get good money from Facebook. And then you should monetize things like or unique content for TikTok. I struggle making 3 videos a week on bloody YouTube without doing all of them.
You couldn't.
I just haven't got the time.
I think unless your name's Tim Burton or Misha, I just don't know how.
And we've had both of them on the podcast, and they do it. And honestly, I have no idea
how.
Yeah. It's you know, sometimes I'll sit down and if I've got an admin day, I've got an admin day tomorrow actually. and I'll do the really boring stuff like my accounts and VAT return and stuff like that. And then I'll sit down and go, right, I'm going to make half a dozen shorts.
Yep.
And I'll pull some B-roll and content and clips together, and I'll make some shorts, and then I'll schedule them to drop, one a day for the next week. But I need to have time to sit down and do that. I can't do it on the fly. And,
Right.
No. It's an art. But even more than, and the YouTube, the Facebook thing, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, as you said, both you and I have started doing a lot more on Facebook through someone this year. And for me, it's fascinating because, again, relating back to one of your earlier points, what does well where, or why doesn't this video do well on YouTube? Well, just a slightly modified version of that exact video that's on YouTube, a slightly shortened version, might explode on Facebook.
So I got my Misha onboard video. So the Misha video on YouTube, I don't know, it's probably done 10,000 views, I think maybe.
Yeah.
The 3-minute version of that I put on Facebook, it's done 1.5 million views, and it's been shared 3,500 times.
It's just mad, isn't it? How? Yeah.
You're like, this is the issue though, because I think then it goes back to time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 3 minutes, and everybody's got 3 minutes in a day, but
I think it's also a different audience because a lot of the comments I get, you didn't talk about the price, or you didn't do this. It's like, but there's a full video of that on my YouTube channel.
I don't think people realise that though.
No.
And the thing that spurs Facebook on is you think the YouTube comments are a bit of a kind of, Wild West.
Yeah.
Facebook comment section.
Oh,
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some there like go at it at each other.
Yeah.
Like really,
militant.
Really badly.
It's like it's a forum, isn't it? That's what you used to always.
You just watch it and it's gold because it just, but yeah, I look at the numbers. I thought Facebook was a dead platform for me now, and it's really, really not. I mean, it's not.
Do you do much Facebooking?
I've got a page that I do, and I just share my videos on there, but I don't directly edit a video and put it on there.
Okay.
So now you're saying 1.6 million views.
So the top tip I was given about Facebook is never put a link on Facebook.
Okay. Because it takes people away from Facebook.
Always put a unique video onto it. Okay. And I used to do the same thing. I tried a bit doing unique content, then basically just didn't have time. So I just put a link thinking my Facebook audience isn't going to grow. And it sat at like 5,000 for like 4 years. Yeah. And I haven't put a link on in the last 3 months, but unique content every day, and it's grown.
Because people haven't got to do anything, have they? They just got to press play as opposed to click the link.
Yeah. And it's the sharing. I think it's how easy it is to share. Yeah. And we underestimate how big Facebook is and how long it's been around.
2 billion people.
Definitely been around almost, I was going to say all your life, almost all your life. Definitely not been around all its life.
There we go. I joined Facebook in 2006.
2006.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was only invented like 2000.
Yeah, because what was before Facebook?
MySpace. That's
yes.
2006.
Do you remember MySpace?
Friends Reunited.
Friends Reunited.
That was before.
Yes. No, that's a blank face right there. Yeah.
That sounds like a
Friends Reunited. You basically you put your school in, and you could create a profile, and you could go back to your school and find all your mates you were at school with.
LinkedIn, but for
pretty much. But then the problem it was responsible for more divorces in the UK, I think, than anything else, because people would go back into school and go, I used to go out with her. We managed to. And then the next thing,
I didn't used to want to go near.
But yeah, no, I don't know whether Friends Reunited, I think it probably doesn't exist anymore.
No, I haven't heard it for years, mate. Yeah, you're right. We are fast approaching the hour already, which is, it's madness. But before we wrap up, what's new in Tim's world? What are you doing next? So you said you come here in GTI?
GTI, yeah. Got GTI. Also have Cooper. I've got to say a shout out to Cooper. I love them.
Yep.
Got a Cooper Ateca come in.
Yep.
Oh, you've done stuff with Cooper before, have you? Yeah. For like parties and
you
stuff.
Might have forgotten. Yes, you might have forgotten.
Let me tell you something. So let me tell you something. So we went to this Cooper event. It's the first time I met Pete, and I was very intimidated to approach him, just because not to blow his trumpet. But the guy's tall. I'm like 5'11". The guy's tall, so I was like, this is Pete. I've got to say hello to him. So I end up wandering over. He looks at me, looks away, and he's just bopping his right shoulder, left shoulder, all of that. And then I say, hey Pete, how's it going? He's like, oh yeah, mate, nice. You do YouTube, follow each other, great. Everything's going well. And then obviously it's a party, so there are beverages there. And as Pete is indulging in the beverages.
They had rosé called Born.
They did.
You were at a Cooper party and they had a rosé called Born, which was just genius.
So halfway through the night, it's going, everything's great. And then Pete hugs me. I was like, wow, he's hugging me. And then he whispers in my ear, he says, you can drive the Porsche whenever you want. And I'm like, rah.
Sounds like a chat up line.
Like, what's going on here? Needless to say, I never drove the Porsche.
The invite's there. You just got to be 34.
Yes, it's coming.
As soon as you're 34, mate.
Soon come. So that was that. But yeah, Cupra next week, and then e-tron as well the week after, and then there might be a cheeky Audi R8 coming, which is in November.
Oh, nice.
But we'll see. Hopefully, touch wood, the weather's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing where it's tricky, and I don't know if you guys have this issue. You want to get a car for you that you're interested in, but at the same time, you've got to feed the audience. Because if I think about YouTube and like getting to know press teams, my first gig with Honda was a Honda Jazz, and I remember getting that kind of. It was like the aim is to get a Type R, like that's what I want. But you can't just go straight in a Type R at my level. So we started with the Honda Jazz, and I kid you not, that did like 18,000 views.
Yeah, well, that's
yeah, but the thing is though that you think, oh, no one's going to be interested in this. But they are, because it's a car that normal people
can relate
buy.
to.
We all want these aspirational. Yeah, GT3 RS might be the best car I've ever driven, but they're like, normal people can't buy them. A Honda Jazz. Yeah. We were raving at the last podcast about i20N or these kind of little. I drove a Suzuki Swift Sport.
Yes.
Oh, what a car, mate! Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're hardly anything. Well, not hardly anything to buy, but they're super cheap to buy. Yeah. Brilliant fun. Like really good. Yeah. But that's a good tip actually for young YouTubers or young channels, smaller channels, is go in low, prove what you can do, and then
definitely
and it keeps
experiment and see what your audience respond to. Because and
then every now and again get something. Supercars don't do great, but you want a supercar for a week.
Bit of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like Joe Achilles for a week, you got like an M3 Touring. Why not?
Yeah, you got an M2. It doesn't move, and
But that's going to be, you said March, so hopefully next year.
Yeah, next year it's going to be back on the road, and I'm looking forward to going on track. I've kind of written this year off with it, but yeah, it's going to be exciting times, and hopefully, I know we've done a track day together, but we didn't really. Yeah. Track days are difficult. You go like, oh yeah, we'll do this. I'll jump in with you. You jump in, and you get there. It was an evening session though, so it was pretty rushed. But anyway, mate, it's been awesome having you on as a guest, and it's been awesome sharing the experience out there. In the cars. For people that want to check you out, what are you on Instagram?
Tim Williams HD on Instagram. I believe it's the same on YouTube, but if you just type in Tim Williams and then a BMW or Audi after, my channel will pop up there.
Brilliant. Nice.
Legend.
Do
you know what? The best thing now, right? So before our Porsche experience, we had the most amazing lunch. We've now got afternoon tea coming in.
We've got afternoon tea.
It's the lot, yep.
I know. So if you come, you get your experience. You can go either breakfast or lunch, depending on which time of day. Yeah. But yeah, we've got afternoon tea. They've saved us afternoon tea.
I completely forgot about that.
Oh yeah, but
that's brilliant. Fantastic.
So I would massive thank you to all the team here at Porsche Experience Centre in Silverstone. And as I said, we'll put the link, descriptions and stuff in the link below. But as I said, if you buy a new Porsche, when you put your money down as a deposit, that's the point where you actually get your invite to come here. You've got to use it within 2 years, I think.
Yep.
So you can drive, I think, anything up to the car that you've bought in terms of level. If you want to go to a faster car than that, you can pay a bit more and do that if you want to. But most people just want to experience the car they bought, right? Yeah. And understand what it can do. And doing it in the safe environment here where there's no cars coming the other way, and they let you, I mean, sometimes you go on these driving experiences and I remember one of these supercar driving experiences, you were only allowed to use like third gear. It was just shocking. The guys here are like, they will push you to where you are comfortable.
And you learn a lot about car control. I mean, we all do track day stuff. We're all, reasonable drivers, not quite distinction advanced stickers everywhere on the window. I don't need to look out the window because it's covered in stickers, but I'm that good. I don't need to see where I'm going. We're not all that level. But even if we were, you do still learn a lot out there. You do, don't you?
Yeah, I didn't use my brake gear separation, but yeah, I was, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Easy down.
But yeah, no, so definitely big shout out to the guys here at Porsche Experience Silverstone. And for also for Michelin for hooking us up and arranging today, because it's been amazing. Tim, thank you for your time, my friend.
Thank you.
And yeah, it was good. We haven't drank as much rosé. And hopefully I won't wake up tomorrow morning cuddling a bottle of rosé, which is what I did after that.
Am I driving
event.
the Porsche home?
You got to be 35.
Okay.
My insurance is anybody over the age of 35, fully comprehensive. As soon as you're 35, give me a call.
Okay.
Are you over 35 yet?
Thanks, mate. Yes, well over, unfortunately.
Your mum thinks I'm 36. That's fine. Anyway, finish there?
Let's finish there. Thanks, guys, for watching, listening, and everything. Please remember to share it. Leave us a review as well.
Yeah, you got to leave us a review.
Yeah, it all helps. And it's great to see that we're consistently in the top 10 of the Apple Automotive UK podcast charts, and the YouTube channel's ticking along very nicely. Don't be shy with the comments either. Let us know feedback and everything. And any other guests that you think we should get on, let us know in the comments below. Cheers, Tim.
Cheers. Cheers, mate. Wrong thing.
Cheers.
And cheers, Joe. Cheers.